screen-free home, I'd lose my sanity. There's so much controversy on whether or not kids should be on screen, so let's talk about it. My name is Elsa, mom of 6, currently homeschooling my 3 younger children, 13, 4, and 2, and we are 90% screen-free home. I know it sounds crazy, but I promise you it's so doable, and I just want to share that I am in no way shaming anyone or passing any judgment. I've been a mama that has use TV and screens as a way to entertain my children while I am either burnt out or too busy. But I do want to share that with changing the ways we run our home has had so many benefits, so I just want to talk about it. I shared something on Instagram a few weeks ago about no screens for the summer, and there was a lot of talk. People have made the opinions or shared their comments that I am withholding my children from learning and experiencing all the new things. I am a 90s kid, born in the 80s, raised in the 90s and early 2000s. I had a TV in my room. I had a beeper, a cell phone. I had access to all the things when internet was like dial-up, but I still had access to it. And I was a zombie in front of that TV. And mind you, I am a person who loves the outdoors. I want to explore. I want to be outside with the sweat, not so much the cold. But I have been one of those people that were allowed to have all means of screens without restriction. I had a TV in my bedroom. I was allowed to watch whatever as long as I wanted. And although for me, I still chose to go outside and explore and just be in the sun and do all the things that young kids should be doing, I still believe in restricted screen time. I still believe that we don't even need to have our children watching anything, and they would be completely okay, because television tells a vision. So it's basically teaching your kids things that you don't maybe want them to learn at a certain age or want them to even see. And now TV, the media, has gotten a little bit insane. So that's a whole different conversation. But I have decided that for my children, even 21 years ago, when my oldest was a little one, my first daughter, I was still strict on TV screens, even without knowing all the information, without having all the data. I believe that screens are so unhealthy for children. So I have never allowed my children to have a cell phone or use a family member's or friend's cell phone. Children should not be allowed to be on an adult cell phone. Yes, I said that, and I know that may ruffle some feathers, but I don't believe that a child should have anyone's cell phone, okay? There are things on a cell phone that are not for children. Children should not be scrolling social media, and I know that people may not like that, and that is fine. This is my opinion. I feel very strongly about it. You should not have your children on social media. So my oldest is going to be 21, and she was not allowed to have any social media until she graduated high school. And even then, if I could monitor her cell phone even more, I would. And I know some people are like, that's crazy. Well, children should not be on social media. It has become very toxic. And I know that I am currently filming a video, and I do share on Facebook and in friend or family. I don't believe that children should be scrolling social media. And again, I am not passing judgment. I'm not here to shame you if this is what you do. I'm just sharing as a mom of 6 who believes that children do not need to be on cell phones. I don't believe that young children should have cell phones. My oldest received her first cell phone at 13, and that's because she was traveling to and from school over 45 minutes. And I just wanted to have a way to contact her. And I know that there are many children that have cell phones now for that reason, but there's still so much more access, and the cell phones are not taken away. So yes, every evening I would take my daughter's cell phone away, and I would return it in the morning when she was going off to school. And that may sound restricted, but as parents, it is our job to restrict our children, because we know more than our children. We don't know everything, but we know more than our children. And it's okay to restrict your child. It's okay. It's okay that if the other 25 children in their class have cell phones and your child doesn't, it's not a big deal. They'll survive. A lot of stats and data that shares that children are spending way too much time on social media. I think like teenagers are spending 9 hours on social media. and then on social media, which is a lot of time behind screens. But anyway, I would like to just share that if you are trying to do less screens for summer, or just less screens in your home, it is completely doable. So as a mom of 2 younger children, 2 toddlers, they do require a little bit more of keeping up to and just sharing more activities for them to have. So at night when they go to sleep, I set up activities. So it's invitation to play, and what that means is we have a dining room table, and I set up 2 stations on my dining room table and 2 stations on the floor in our living room. And what that could mean is a painting station, crayon station, a Connect sand station with little tiny animals in it. I set up bubbles and water or ice play. There's so many different ways to do that, and it buys about 45 minutes to an hour depending on your child and their age. My 4-year-old stays a little bit longer. My 2-year-old, after maybe 30 minutes, he wants to move on to the next thing. Their attention span gets longer and longer, and they're able to just sit down and enjoy more of the things that are in front of them. They're enjoying using their hands and creating things and using their imagination. And it is okay for a child to be bored. There's nothing wrong with being, but I'm telling you, there's so much more benefits to not having your child in front of that. The zombies, and they're just watching a screen for hours and hours if you just want to keep getting filled with that refilling of endorphins, like going off and going off and going off. It's been asked to share what a day in our life looks like with no screens. And I know that it may seem like a lot, and some days are longer than others. I mean, my boys are up for 13 hours a day, and only my 2-year-old takes a little nap. So I get that the days are long. And yes, I am a stay-at-home homeschooling mama, so I do have a long day. What we do is I do invitation to play, which is I set up all the activities at night, and in the morning they're invited to do something that's going to spark their interest. They're invited to spend that morning of just exploring and using their hands. And being that the weather has gotten so much better and it is very warm, and we do have a yard, we do our invitation to play outdoors. We take it outside. So I make their breakfast, they eat outside, and then they play outside. They play in the water, they play with dirt, they have rocks. They have a mud table where they're able to explore and learn, so they're using their hands. And I mean, we spend hours and hours. Sometimes we even take lunch out there, that it's been all day. So it's great when the weather is nice and you can just walk out to your yard and do that. And I know that some families have different situations where they don't have a yard, but I've also been that parent where we've lived in an apartment, in a small apartment without a yard. But there are so many different resources. There are playgrounds, there are public pools, there are libraries, there are children's museum. And although you have to get to that place, that's the adventure. That can be the adventure, where it's like we're riding, you may drive there, but we're riding a subway to get to the library. What will we see? You know, there are so many things you can do. You can play games, and what will we find? Who will we meet today? There's so many different ways to explore without screens. And I do notice a big difference in when I did allow my older son to have more screen time, because I said, okay, now he's getting older, let's do more screen time. But even as a 13-year-old, the tantrums might be different, but they're still there because they're so focused on being entertained and not having to use their body or their minds to create anything, that they're just sitting. And I'm sorry, I think it's lazy behavior. And if you watch my last videos, I had shared that I'm an eclectic homeschooler. So what that means is I take a few different methods and I just use what works for our families. Focus a lot on God's creation and all the things that God has given us the ability to do. So we are big readers. We read every day. I currently have my son reading a few chapter books throughout the summer that he's going to write me papers on, because I want to make sure that what you're reading, you're getting something out of it. You're learning something out of it. So there could be fiction books that he's reading for pleasure, like fun, or there's books that he's reading to educate himself, to learn something in the field that he might want to be in, or something that he's just interested in. My boys are really interested in like sea life and animals and insects and things like that. So I shared that we use The Good and Beautiful for our curriculum for my 2 littles, and this is a big book, science stories, and it's about flowers and fields and insects and things like that. So we've been doing that. So we've covered a few of them already, which is the ones that I have labeled here. This is the parent guide, so it gives you activities and ways that you can interact and things that you can create. So we're going to be finishing this one up because we started in the spring, but we've taken our time getting through it. And we're going to be jumping into the sea life, ocean studies, which is going to be super fun because in the summer we do a lot of ocean, water, beach play, pool, lake, all the things. Exploring nature is such a beautiful thing. And even as a New Yorker, there are so many places that I have never visited or things I've never seen until I became a mama who just loves to explore. So this is really fun. There is a butterfly unit in here, and we actually had purchased caterpillars. So that was really fun, exploring caterpillars and then watching them. It's an amazing experience, especially when you're watching it through your child's eyes, when you're seeing them explore and watch this beautiful thing emerge into nature. Like, just go into nature. It's really a beautiful thing, and I am so grateful that I have come to this place where screens has been like a big no in our home, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that more and more children are spending way too much time on screens and don't know how to truly enjoy and explore all the things around them. And if you see my kids, you'll see them go to a park. There's nothing more beautiful than just knowing that we have a creator who has created such a masterpiece. So we do a lot of on a budget. Just know that the library has so many resources, and there are a lot of libraries in the summer that do have read alouds and painting and balloon making and a lot of crafts for children, and it is air conditioning. So if you're worried about being too hot in the summer or it being too warm to walk around and hike up a mountain or in a park, just know that the library has so many resources. Other than just sitting and reading, there are a lot of activities. We do purchase a lot of books, and then we do just rent them from the library. So this is one of the books that we are doing, and I had purchased this in the dollar store, I believe. And they have some really good books. If you ever go to the dollar store, they have some really good books. So my son actually got this because we'll be doing the ocean life and learning more about sharks and dolphins and things like that. And it has so many great things. And then there was also one about national parks. So we checked up some national parks that we're trying to get to this coming summer and the fall. And it had really good ideas and shared some of its beautiful scenery and things like that. And, you know, a good old book about summer and seashells and seals and things like that. And there's so many different things that you can learn from books. But if you take your book and you attach it to an exploration, right? Like, we're going to the park today and we're going to go see what we can find there, which insect we can find. And then you can have your child draw about it if they can't write, or if they can write, journal about it, a few sentences on what they explored, and just enjoying that. Another one about sea creatures. And I do a lot of printing up, and we do all different kinds of sea creatures and the parts of them, things like that. So there are so many ways to keep your children entertained, and I know that it takes a lot more effort. I think that turning on the TV for it sounds, because I know there are people who struggle and don't know how to entertain, or just don't believe that they have the resources to do so. But I set up invitation to play, set up ways for your child to learn and explore, do all those kinds of things. And there are so many free resources if you don't have a yard. And if you have a yard, get out and use it. Get out and use your yard, go to the beach, walk on that sand, walk on that wet grass. If it's raining, go play in the rain, jump around. Let your inner child come out and allow your child to truly enjoy being a child. It is honestly an enjoyable thing to do. Live without screens is so much better than just being behind a screen. Truly living, experiencing it for yourself. And I know that we can get sucked in, even as an adult. I just believe in modeling behavior. Model behavior that you want your children to live by, right? Practice what you preach is the phrase. So if you're telling your kids not to be on the screen, thank you for watching. And if you like this video, please like and